Hi, this is Linda Willow Roberts with another episode of How to Manifest Magical Manifesting Conversations. Today I've got Karen McDermott from Perth, Western Australia, who is the CEO, publisher of Serenity Press, the co-founder of Executive Networking Events. She's a publisher, an author, a speaker, and she's also the CEO of Making Magic Happen Press. I'd like to welcome Karen McDermott. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Linda. I cannot wait to connect with your amazing audience.
I just want to help people manifest. And I've been speaking to lots of spiritual leaders around the world, talking to them about how they manifest, how they got started. So I suppose my first question to you, most spiritual leaders when they start off have had challenges with their life, and that's what's pushed them in the direction of spirituality and manifesting. And so did you have early challenges that you had to deal with?
I had a very beautiful, privileged life, but I did hit a stumbling block and kind of found myself, and I had a lot of wisdom channeled through me. So I emerged, I went into a cocoon for a time after a life struggle, and I came out like butterfly, and I haven't stopped since. And I've been manifesting amazing things. I play around all the time with it and make beautiful things. So it's kind of like a positive out of a negative.
That's great.
So I'm happy to share what that is if you want me to go into more detail.
If you'd like to, yes.
Yeah,
yes, thank you.
So I had a personal struggle where an incident happened in my home, and I ended up with post-traumatic stress. And so I kind of went into a cocoon for like 12 months. And then this glimmer of hope came where I was actually got pregnant, and was pregnant for twins, and it was the most beautiful, wonderful thing. And then I lost them. So it became the most harrowing thing, but it woke me back up again, and I started to feel again and to feel very alive again. And I ended up finding a spiritual reasoning why that happened to me. And that was how I wrote my first book, was through that epiphany of why it happened to me, why I had to endure that in my lifetime.
Yeah. So what do you think was so sorry about that, what was the spiritual reason for that?
It was, and I'll tell you a little story if that's okay. I about a year and a half later, I had emigrated to Perth. I never really accepted any of the medical reasonings around it because I was a healthy person. It didn't need to happen to me. I already had two beautiful boys. So, and the reason, one day I was sitting watching daytime TV, which I never, ever did. And Whoopi Goldberg was on The View, and a couple happened to come in who were a reality TV couple, and on reality TV they actually endured a miscarriage and went through all the motions of that, but the whole world knew about it, so they didn't get to do it privately. But it was mentioned on the show, and the woman was obviously still very distraught, and because she really wanted it, and Whoopi just stopped the show, and she turned her back to the camera, and she said to this couple, I just want to tell you this, that I tell all of my friends who endure this in their lifetime, that this is a visitor that came to help and guide you back onto the right path in life, because you're not on it right now, and you need to take the steps and follow the signs back onto the right track for you. And once you do that, your gift will come. And I was just blown away when I read that. So I felt empowered to share this message with the world, and I was gifted this knowledge. Yeah,
that gave me goosebumps, Karen. That's just such a beautiful way to look at loss, because we choose our life path, and our children choose us before they come through, and that is just a beautiful way to look at that. And so that was a gift that was given to you. So what was the first step that you took after that to help you on the road? What did you do?
Well, it was actually it was in hindsight, really, because by that time I had kind of evolved and had started writing, and I was writing as an organic writer for a website called Building Beautiful Bonds, and so it was kind of a catalyst that brought me into writing The Visitor, which is a book that I wrote about all of that reasoning and my stories woven into it. And it ended up being a finalist in the Book Awards, and it brought me into publishing. So it was a catalyst into there. But the 18 months previous, where I was so blessed that after I endured that loss, that straight away I was pregnant again, and I had my rainbow baby. And just whenever we moved to Australia, and then I had another child after that. So this epiphany came after whenever I had 4 children, all healthy, beautiful kids. So I kind of moved along in the journey, but I never had the answer, and the answer came at that time. So it was just like this affirmation that life does go on, that it all comes together, and it's all for a reason.
It is, and sometimes when you're in the middle of things, it's really hard to see what the reason is, isn't it? You sort of, I mean, I live in synchronicity, and I follow all spiritual steps, but and probably 90% of the time I am following the synchronicities and the steps and the messages and the signs, but then the humanness comes in, and you go back into your head and you start thinking, why is this happening? Why isn't this happening? And why did that happen to me? And I think that that's a really lovely way to look at it. And to know, and then to write a book about it to help other people. I think that's, hats off to you. And I'm so glad that you got into writing and into publishing, because you publish lots of books that can help people. And Serenity Press is just wonderful. And so thank you for that. So your spirituality journey, so you started to write, you became a publisher. So what step did you take on your spiritual journey? What do you think was the next step for you?
Well, I just fell in love with story and the potential that story had, not just in my life but for other people, and I really wanted to be a driving force for that. I kind of went on a mission, but I also like to achieve things in life, and I kind of studied the law of attraction and things like that, but I love the law of attraction, and I played around with it, and I manifested some beautiful things, and I still do. I do it all of the time, but I wanted to make it my own, and so I started to, what I called are the 7 master gifts to live in a life without fear and on purpose, because it takes courage to manifest things and to be truly aligned with your highest self. And I do that, and I have worked, like Serenity Press is now 8 years old, and I have grown a press. As a mum of 6 children, I've grown a press to be such an amazing, beautiful success. But I've done that through taking action and on aligned things that I've set that intention and made that miracle happen for myself, and everybody can do that. So I took those steps and started to write about. There's 7 master gifts, and the master gifts are mindfulness, knowing, intention, gratitude, forgiveness, belief, and love. Those are the 7 master gifts, and I'm writing about them right now, all in individual books. So the Power of Knowing is about to come out, and I speak. Will I tell you about how I manifest using the Power of Knowing, Linda?
Yes, please do.
So I'm really passionate about the power of knowing, and how we all have the ability to know, but we don't, because of learned beliefs and things that we endure in our lifetime. We've lost that ability. So, the power of knowing is one of the most strongest things that we have within us. And once we learn how to connect with that, we no longer need to look externally for the answers that are there internally. Once we learn how to have faith and trust in our own ability to know. And I speak on it, and it's the book, The Power of Knowing, that is just about to be released. I speak about how I use the power of knowing to make amazing things happen in my life. And there's 3 steps to knowing, okay? So the first thing is you need to get to know yourself and what makes you, and set really strong intentions in your lifetime. And then opportunities start to come to you. Once you set an intention, it sets a ball in motion, a manifesting ball. And then once that happens, then you need to know how to know what opportunities are aligned with that, with your intentions. So when an opportunity comes its way and presents itself to you, or when you're manifesting one, your intuition, which is the feminine, it kicks into action. And once that kicks into action, you will know straight away, oh, that's something I want to do or want to take up or say yes to. But then you go to the next stage, and this can happen within a few seconds if you once you start to really get to know. So then you go to the second stage, which is thinking it. So you think, is this aligned with my highest potential?
Yes.
Is this aligned with my goals? And if it's a yes, then you take action straight away. You don't wait around. You have the courage to say yes and take action, because everything that you need to make that happen will come to you, and you need to have trust and faith in that. But if it's an or a no, then you just move on. You don't go any further with it. You don't take the action because it's a distraction. It's not aligned with your higher self and what you're setting the goals in your lifetime for. So, isn't it, Linda? And that's the thing.
It is. Yeah, and that's how it works.
Yeah, and you can't set goals that are aligned with your higher self if you don't know yourself. So getting to know yourself and being mindful of what makes you tick. And that's why mindfulness comes first, because there's so much magic in that, in being mindful. And because you can have a really good habit, you can mindfulness, you can kick it off by setting a 21, I always say, for 21 days, be mindful. It takes a bit of effort, but by the end of the 21 days, you'll be doing it automatically. So do the same for knowing, just think of the 3 steps. It becomes more of a thing that you do just instantly without having to think about it too much.
It is. I'm a bit of a thought and word Nazi. If I'm talking to somebody and they say something, I go, oh, Control, I'll delete that, say this instead. And I do make sure that I live on purpose and think on purpose, because that's what I'm putting out there. So it's taken me a while to train my thought process to change it about what I want to bring in rather than what I don't want. And my book, 7/8 of Me, A Tale of a Spiritual Adventurer, I have the 5 steps in there that I used to personally change my life, because I needed to do something and I didn't realise how much of a purge I needed to do. And I wrote 57,000 words, but it ended up being releasing. It'll never see the light of day, but it's what I needed to do to empty out, to make room for the new. So mindfulness and living on purpose and really choosing what you want to go after is just such an important part to manifesting, isn't it?
Oh, it truly is, Linda. It is. And to not have fear, whenever you know how to know, whenever you know how to, you have faith in the outcome without actually having to control the outcome, because you have faith to know that it's going to manifest. And so there's no fear in that. So you are totally, truly aligned, because you know that you're in line with your highest potential. So whatever comes your way is for you. And because even if it's a hurdle, it's going to evolve you to the person you need to be to get to where you want to be.
Oh, if I hadn't have gone through some of the stuff that I went through early on in my life, I wouldn't be where I am now. So I'm very grateful to the situations and the places and the people that I was involved in. But at the time, it was like I was swimming through mud. I couldn't see the trees for the forest sort of thing, the forest for the trees, because you don't know. But when you have that total trust in spirit, you actually know that anything that's for me will never go past me, because I'm open, and by being open to it, you're actually bringing it in. It's very hard to, some people have asked me, what's the difference about being fearful? How can you change that? And I think that when you're fearful, you can say to spirit, I release fear and doubt. And it's when you're in your head, in the ego. But if you go back into your heart and realign, then that fear just disappears, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. And that's the thing. It's about coming inward, not going outward. And I always, I'm an entrepreneur, businesswoman, all of those things. And I see so many people who are doing great things, and they're driving their bus through they know the answers. They know where they're going. But they get support from the things that, the mechanics that they need from the exterior, because they don't need to know everything. They need to stay in their genius zone. But some people who don't get to know how to drive their bus, then they look for outside, for validity and for all of those kind of things. And that's why, if we're guided inwards to do the work, then life just gets, it's so much more of an easier ride, because you get to have this deeper understanding of you, because it is individual. There's no one
Yeah.
size fits all. People can give you sticky plasters and as solutions, but it's you that has to do the work. You cannot avoid that, no matter how much you try to distract yourself from that. And if you do try to avoid it, you're just going to come back round to it again. So you may as well jump over that hurdle as best as you can and just keep driving forward instead of going around in circles.
Yeah, I was the big self-sabotaging queen early on. I've got had a really addictive personality, and very distracted by all sorts of things. And I have to pull myself back on my spiritual path, all the time. But I'm quite good now. The later part of my life now is really, really good. But it can be so easy to self-sabotage, and like you said, self-analysis is the best thing. I can go there myself, and it's really quite I don't know, self-satisfying now to get the serotonin going and not the dopamine, because when you've got self-sabotaging habits and things, the dopamine comes out, and that's a quick fix, and it always leaves you with wanting more. But when you get the serotonin going, that's for the long haul happiness. That like makes your soul happy. And I'm a really good bus driver. I think I'm driving my bus really well at the moment.
You are. I love watching you drive your bus, Linda.
I don't know where it's going, but I'm going.
Yeah. One thing I love to do is bring people along for the ride, because whenever you're, you can show people how to do it for themselves, and that's the thing. It's not doing it for them. It's showing people how to drive their own buses, and whenever you see the results that come out of that for other people, it's just the most rewarding thing. Because
it is.
We do that by driving our own buses and showing, how we do it, and do it, like we write books to connect with people, because when somebody's reading your book, you have their full attention. And so that's a responsibility to write words that connect and guide people back to themselves. And I take that responsibility. It's a privilege to be able to do that.
Yeah, sometimes as an author, I forget that my book's out there. So when I finished writing it, I said to Spirit, okay, it's not my baby anymore. I give it to you, and it goes out to whoever needs it. And I actually had a message from a lady on the weekend that said, she sent me an email, and she actually said, thank you for writing the book. It's been like a Bible to me. And it sort of jolted me back into, because I'm writing my second book now, and it jolted me back into, it helps somebody, because that's why we do it. That's why I made the manifesting tools, was so that if they didn't have access to me, that they could help themselves, and they knew how to do it. Because, like, you're right, everybody's individual. We're all unique, and we're all unique in how we learn, how we grow, how our spiritual gifts meld together and morph into what it needs to be for us. So the whole journey is just so, unique to each person. Now, as a publisher, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, because now I've written a book, I know the process. I'm only a new person at this, but as a publisher, if your writers are having a problem, and they're trying to manifest their book, you have an academy, don't you, or a press, Making Magic Happen, and you mentor people that are writing. How do you help them manifest their writing their book?
Oh, yeah. Well, every author's on a journey, and people, like, for example, your book, you just said there that you've written your book, it's out there, but you've already moved on to your second book.
Yes.
But that's the thing, is that when you're in a season of life and you write the book that aligns with that season of life, then you put it out into the world for other people who are coming behind you, or wherever they are, that come into that season, connect with your book. It helps them through that. And so, you're always going to be ahead a little bit. And that's an author's journey, and we're always moving forward. And then we get to stop and smell the fruits of our labors that have been, and things like that, and see that our books are actually helping people through those seasons that we have been through and evolved through. And I think that, especially when you're a spiritual writer, it's really important to do that and to honor that, and to not dwell on the books that you've written, because they're all very important in that time and place that they were written in, because you can't write them now. I know books that I wrote 5 years ago, I couldn't write them now because I have evolved spiritually and as a person and as an author and as a publisher since then. But just knowing and identifying where you are in your life, and usually it starts off with an accumulation of life lessons. That's usually what the first book is, and then second books tend to go deeper in a more understanding and more evolved kind of state of thinking and things like that. So yes, I own four publishing presses at the moment. I own Serenity Press, which is obviously it's a traditional press. It's we've got the Duchess of York in there, Kate Forsyth in there. We've just opened up a literary imprint, so it's functioning as a literary press. So but we have the Making Magic Happen press, which is where myself and a board of beautiful shareholders actually hold the hand of authors through to build up their readerships, and it's an investment from them, an investment from us to make that happen. And then I've got KMD Books, which is where my business friends all come, and we publish our books there because that's the audience for that. And then I'm about to take over White Light Publishing, which is the most beautiful spiritual press, which I love and have a very deep connection with, which is very much aligned with these types of books and connecting at a spiritual level. So that's why we're going to nurture and build that beautiful audience there, because it's time for these books to bust out into the world. So I also have an academy. Yes, I have the Everything Publishing Academy that we just launched on Friday. And it's not so much that it helps an author write their books. I always, in my life, I go around and we have a writing group that is actually free. It's called Making Magic Happen Press Writing Academy. So you can join that on Facebook, and that's free. And people just share their writing journey and get tips and things like that in there. But the Everything Publishing Academy is an academy where authors come in when they've kind of written their book or are near completion to start to get everything aligned for publishing. And I share all of my insights, all of my knowledge in there, and it's a cost-effective way. It's very important. The reason why I birthed the Everything Publishing Academy was because it was what I needed when I started publishing my books. So there's lots of tutorials in there. I bring in really huge industry leader special guests in there, so there's lots of things. There's trainings, there's workbooks, there's lots. It's up to you. There's a members hub. There's also a beautiful community where we all, if anybody has any hurdles to get over, we just help, we just provide the answers that help get over those hurdles. So it just makes publishing a more streamlined process when you want to drive your own publishing dream.
That's good. That's really good to have the backup, because when I started my spiritual journey like 35 years ago, we had no teachers around. There was no one around, and it was trying to find answers. Back then there was no internet. We laughed the other day because somebody said to me, "Can you believe we were alive before, there was no internet?" But writing the book, and having that support and the academy there for you to help people and to nurture them, because sometimes that's when the fear comes in, is I want to write this, but I don't know how, and maybe I can't. I mean, I went to not a very good school. My grammar, I'm ADHD, so how I write comes out back to front. So I had a really good editor. So I have some writing challenges. I can talk to the cows come home, but when I started writing, it just came out.
You can connect with an audience, Linda, and that's the thing. You can connect with the heart of your reader, and that's what editors are for. And I love my editors because I'm the same as you, and I kind of have a bit of dyslexia and kind of, like, I put words the wrong way around and letters and things like that. But that's not a hurdle. I don't.
No.
I get the words out. When you're writing the kind of stuff that we write, you're channeling it out.
Yes.
So that's the important thing to honor, and not to overthink the actual logistics of writing, because that's what can be molded and shaped into an amazing book. But I bet you an editor couldn't write what you can write.
3 weeks. I couldn't believe it. My editor said, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" And I went, "I can't help it. It was just coming out." But I had a bit of a ritual to write it. So I called in Thoth and Gabrielle to help me write it. Thoth's been hanging around, so I know I need to get back into my writing. But I put Bach on the music on the telly so that I had that in the background that was helping stimulate my mind. I'd light a candle, sit down, and next minute it had just run out of me. The words, I just couldn't stop once I started. But that's when you're aligned. So I wasn't trying to force it.
Yeah, my first book, I only knew 2 days before I wrote it that I was going to be writing it. And then I set the intention that during NaNoWriMo, which is Novel Writing Month, that I was going to write 50,000 words in 30 days. So that's 1,667 words a day for 30 days. And I had the only preparation I did was I had the name of the book, which was obviously going to be The Visitor, and kind of a subtitle. And then I had 20 potential chapters. So I kind of had my backup. And so it just flowed out of me, just like you. And then after 30 days, I had a 51,000 page novel. And so but to work out, to even, like, I was getting surprised along the way with how the characters developed and things like that, because I was writing fiction. I wasn't, it was amazing to see how I just let it all play out. It all came together.
It's really good that happens.
Yeah. But you're honoring the journey. You're not stopping yourself, because our thoughts can stop us. Oh, am I doing that right? Oh, but if you let your first draft flow, especially for your first book, because it will just, if you're ready to write a book, it'll just spew out of you. But and if you let it flow, and for me, and find that time when it flows for you. For me, it's like 5 a.m. in the morning, where I'm connected to a more dreamlike state, and I'm not overthinking things, and I just let things flow. And it's amazing when you get into the habit of doing that, how it happens just so automatically, and your brain actually prepares you for getting up to do it the next day, and the content's all there ready to come out when you sit down to do it. It's amazing.
Yeah. I used to do gratitude lists between 2 and 5, and I'd sit down and I just had to write list after list after list. But you really need to have a process, really, don't you, to say, okay, especially writing a spiritual book and you're channeling, okay, Spirit, I'm here now, turned on. This is when I'm going to write, and I'm going to do it as much as you want to. So it's really connecting to Spirit to help you as well.
Yeah, that is it, 100%. And whenever you sit down and if you're doing it at the same time every day, it becomes a habit. So your subconscious mind gets ready to channel that in and allow it to go out onto the page. And I love watching that process. And it is about not overthinking it, just allowing it to happen, because quite often people who write spiritual books will read it afterwards and go, oh my goodness, did I write that? Because it is coming from that higher source. It's coming through. Yeah.
I knew my book would be a light read, but I didn't sort of worry about that. But, some people get stuck on, when they're doing a business or they're writing a book, on titles, business cards, all those sorts of things. My title came really easy.
Yeah.
Like 7/8 of me, everybody keeps saying to me, where did that come from? Was actually my date of birth. And the symbol that's on the front of the book is actually my date of birth, but it's also my my soul blueprint. And I've been drawing that symbol, which is the 8 on the side and the 7 through the middle. Yeah. I've been drawing that for forever, all of my life. Yeah. So it was really quite easy. So I think each book will be 7/8 of me. The first one was a tale of a spiritual adventurer, and the next one will be 7/8 of me, something else. But I think that it'll all go, a series,
Isn't it amazing, and how truly aligned it is with you and your life's mission as well?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, Karen, thank you very much for joining me. Can you tell everybody where they can find you, please?
Yes, no problem. I'm kind of everywhere. I have an omnipresence. So you can find me, if you're business-wise, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on Facebook, and I'm also on Instagram and Twitter. So you can find me, or you can come visit one of my presses, or just email publisher with serenitypress.org.
And we'll attach all the links to you when we go live with this. And I just wanted to say thank you very much for joining me. I love talking to you. I love listening to your idea and experience and wisdom, because this is something that you've been doing for quite a long time, and who better to learn things from. And thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thanks, Karen.
Oh, no problem. Thank you, Linda. Bye, everyone.